wall tool. On the wall tool, in this template that we used, I have some predefined walls that we could use. We're going to start with one of these, and then I'll get into the actual components that make up the wall. So let's say I'm going to select the brick 2x4. So again, on the tool here, we have that little arrow. When you click on the arrow, you get, these are called favorites. So I'm going to double click on the brick 2x4. Okay, what happens right here on this ribbon, you start seeing different settings that apply to this wall. All these settings are easy access settings, but it's not a complete set. All the actual settings are right here, the settings dialog. When you click in here, you see everything that they can possibly do on that wall, on this window. So I'm going to cover a lot of these so we can know what we're doing. I click, after I select my wall, then I click right here, settings dialog. Okay, so I have my exterior brick 2x4. You can also change any other wall style here. You can choose from this list. So I'm going to start with an exterior brick 2x4. These right here, these are different types of walls that you can use. This one is, what's it called? The basic wall. This one is a composite wall. And this one is the complex profile wall. We're going to start with this one. The basic one, you select that wall, and the first thing you need to do is define where is this wall going to start and where is the height going to end. That's what you do right here. So you can choose in which level this wall is going to start. I'm going to start on the first floor. And then the height of the wall is going to go up to the plate height, which we define will be the ceiling height of the first floor. So it's going to go from there to there. And it's automatically telling me that it's 10 foot 1 inches right here. That's what we want. When we're using this basic one, we define the width of the wall right here. Let's say I'm just going to use a brick wall by itself, a 4-inch brick or a 3 5/8 brick. So I'm gonna enter that number. Remember that the default units for ArchiCAD is feet. So if you're going to type in inches, you physically have to type in the inch on the keyboard. So let's say I'm just going to draw 4-inch brick. So it's actually 3.625 inches. Okay. And it's going from the first floor up to the plate height. And I'll leave this alone by default. And then you can choose your baseline. You can choose the outside face of the wall, the center, or the inside face. This does not really apply when you're using the basic, but when you have the composite, when you have sheetrock, and you have sheathing, and you have brick, it makes a big difference where the baseline is. So for this example, I'm just going to do the outside face. I'm not going to cover this one right now. That's a little more advanced. Okay, so we've set these. Okay, so we got these settings set, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm just going to start anywhere. I click, and I just zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. Notice that on the left side of this wall, it's bolder line than on the right side, because that is your base line. That's the outside face of this particular wall. Also notice that little window that says distance, angle, and Z coordinates. And it changes every time you move. It's telling you what angle you're going and what distance. There's several ways to start drawing. You can just freeform, and notice that there's a little dashed blue line. That's ortho mode. If it compares to ortho mode in AutoCAD. And it snaps to different points. It snaps at 90s, and it snaps at 45s. There's another one. And then at 0, and so on. At every 45, there's a snap. That's 315 degrees, and so on. Okay, so let's say I just want to go up. And I'm not giving it any dimension, I'm just drawing a wall. So click. Right here, geometry method. There's different ways of drawing this wall. If I click on the right arrow, if I click and hold, I can draw one line segment at a time. I can draw multiple line segments that are connected at one time, or I can draw a rectangle. Let's start one by one. So I'm going to choose that one. Let me escape here. Go back. Wall. Choose my settings. Make sure that all that is correct. Hit OK. I'm going to start with my first option, which is single line segment. So I click one point, I click a second point, and I'm done. That's one line segment. If I go to my 3D, and if I look at my wall, there's something wrong with it. Let me see, because when you have a wall drawn already, you can always go back and look at its settings. So if I select my wall and I go back to my setting dialog, and I didn't select the material that I wanted, I'm drawing a masonry brick wall. That's 3 5/8 thick. So I hit OK. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. So I have one width of brick wall. And it starts at the first floor level and then goes up. It's linked to the plate height level. Let's go look at the elevation. And that's the wall that we have. It's linked from here to here. The reason to draw walls linked to levels is that sometimes as we are designing, we change plate heights. Let's say I don't want my plate height to be at 10 foot. Let's say, let me go over here so we can see it. Right now, my plate height is at 10'1". Let's say for whatever reason, I got to a point where I designed the whole first floor, and then I decide to change it to 9 foot. So I go back to my story settings and I say, no, I want that to be 9'1". Hit OK. Then that wall automatically moved down to the 9'1" level because it's linked to that level. If I didn't link that wall, then whatever, let's say I had 10 of these walls that are not linked to that plate, I would have to go individually wall by wall, changing the height of each wall. If I had them linked to the plate height, they all automatically update. So sometimes it speeds up the process if you have it linked, and so I would recommend doing that. Right now I'm going to go back to the default, change it to 10'1". There we go. So everything is generated in 3D as you are drawing. So that's a sample of a basic wall. This wall can be any width. It's all governed by here. If I want that wall to be 1 foot, it changes to 1 foot. If I wanted this wall, let me go back to the elevation. I want it linked to that plate height, but let's say I want this wall to be 1 foot above that plate. That would be right here. I can define that 1 foot above this linked plate, and it's showing you in gray that level, and I'm going 1 foot above. So I hit OK, and it goes up 1 foot. So if ever I remove the level of that plate height, I'm going to retain that 1 foot above that level. Same thing with, you can go below the lower level. Let's say I want that to be 1 foot 6 inches below that level. So, whoops, I actually need to do a minus. Minus 1 foot 6, hit OK, and it extends it, whatever measurement you give it below that level. So I just covered how to use the wall with a single line segment. I'm going to create another wall, go back to my first floor, go to my wall tool, go to settings, and I'm going to have the exact same things. I'm just going to change a different material so we can see something different. Let's try masonry CMU. Okay, and I'm going to do 7 5/8 inch from first floor to plate height. Okay, instead of the single line segment, I'm going to use this one, the multiple one. So I select it and it's telling me it's there. So with this one, you can do as many walls and continue going until you're done. And you can always end that command by double click right there. Double click. So again, you go click, click, however many times you want, double click. Or whenever you get back to its original starting point, it'll end itself. Now, what I want you to see is the cursor. Right now, I'm still in the wall command. Notice the cursor is just a little plus cursor. If I hit escape, it goes back to the little arrow. So the arrow says that I'm in no command. When I go into an actual tool, the cursor changes. So you know you're still active in that tool. So I'm going to draw multiple lines. Notice that the cursor changed to a pen or a pencil. Okay, so I'm going to click my, let me see, click my second point. And again, I'm following that little dash line because it's the ortho mode. Or if I hit the shift, it'll force that cursor to go ortho mode. So click. Now look at the little pencil and look at this line right there. It's tracking my cursor so it'll snap to that point. And look at my pencil, what happens when I get close to that. So it's telling you that it's lining up with that point. Now the pencil turned black, solid black. You see that? So you can know that it's exactly lined up with that point. And then I'm going to come really close over here and notice the different cursor. Now it's a hammer. You see that? So that's telling you that it's going to end that line segment at the start point. So only click once and then end it. So that's this one. I'm going to draw.
How did you get the bubble?
How did I get what?
Like that, like up in the corner. I have a single, and you got a bubble.
Oh, I click and hold, and I can select which one I want. All right, so we did this one first, we did this one second, now we're going to do this one, the box. So what that is, you pick 2 points, 1 point, and another point, and you draw a box. That's how you use it. Another thing is, notice the dark line on the inside of that box. That is the offset line, or the what do we call it? That is the reference line. We told it that we wanted that to be the outside face. Okay, so that's that bold line that we're seeing. Well, that's not the outside face as I'm drawing it. So I can flip right here. I can flip the wall here, and notice now that face went to the outside. If I click in this wall again, now that didn't grayed out, but I think this, let's see, Control F or Alternate F. On my shortcut keys, Alternate F makes me flip that wall, inside or outside. And this is a custom shortcut that I created, and I'm gonna provide that to you so you can use as well. So again, this tool with the 2-point option, you can click and place. All right. What we're doing right now is just placing walls freeform. We're not giving it any distance. We're just eyeballing it, just for sake for to get used to the idea of how to draw these walls. I'm going to go back to my wall, and I'm going to go back to my single line segment. And I'm going to start here. Notice the this one. Notice the little window next to my cursor. It says distance, angle, and z coordinates. If I know I'm going straight up, and if I know the distance that I want, I'm going to hit tab, and notice how the distance highlights. So there I can say 20 feet. And I can tab again, and it's going to go 90 degrees, or if I say 60 degrees, and then hit enter, it draws that wall 20 feet at 60 degrees. So you have more control of what you're drawing. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try another wall. outside face is the boulder line. In this case, it's the bottom line. Alternate F, I can flip my wall in any direction that I want to go. And I hit tab, and I'm going to say 15 feet. Oops, 15, and hit tab for the angle. And let's say I want it 15 degrees, and then hit enter, and it draws that wall accurately. So that's how you use user input for measurements and angles. We covered the basic wall tool. Now we're going to use the composite. Okay, composite uses predefined wall styles. I'm going to look at the exterior brick 2x4. It's going from the first floor to the plate height. And here is where it becomes important, because the exterior brick composite wall has multiple lines. So let me draw it first so we can see it. All right, let's take a look at this. We have, starting from the outside face, we have the brick, we have airspace, we have sheathing, we have the wall stud, and then we have the interior gypsum board. So that makes a 9.5-inch wall. I'm going to show you the actual makeup of this composite wall. Oops, it is Control C. No, that's not it. That one, this one. Okay. The exterior brick 2x4. This window, and I'll show you how to get to it later. This window shows you the composite of the entire wall. The shortcut is Control Shift C. That might be a custom keyboard command that I did. Control Shift C brings you that window. You can find it under Options, and then Composites right here. And it takes you to that same window. So here's where you create and define your very own custom wall types. Okay, go back to my brick example. Exterior brick 2x4. From the top to the bottom, the top is the outside, the bottom is the inside face of the wall. Here is giving you a sample of what you are creating. Starting with the outside face. The outside, I'm defining it to be a solid line. You can change your line type that you want to represent that outside face material here. I'm going to leave it as a solid line. And you can pick your line weight based on the pen setting. If you click here, there's all these different pens. Each one of those pens is a different line weight. So you can define whatever one you want. This particular table, I customized it for my office standards. You would have to do the same, for your office. So I'm going to leave this at 126. That's just the line. Then we define the material, brick, and you can select it here. You can choose any material that you want, predefined, or you can create your own materials. I'll go into that later. You give it the line weight, you give it the thickness. So from the outside, it's 3 5/8. This column is showing you how it's going to look in plan. This column is showing you how it's going to look in 3D. Those are the colors that you're going to see. So we have a solid line. We have a hatch pattern. The hatch pattern is defined by the material that you select. For example, if I select the CMU, the CMU has a predefined hatch pattern of a cross section. So I'm going to go back to brick. So the hatch pattern is defined by the material you select. After that material, I have another solid line right here. That's what you see here. And you define the line weight. Then we have an airspace right here. Notice that when I'm clicking on these, there's a little arrow showing you what it is that I'm pointing to. So this is the airspace. And then another solid line right here. And then I have my sheathing. And I have my sheathing, my wall stud, and my interior wall as chipboard gypsum material. And that is only for 3D design purposes. I'm not really defining the actual material. Like, for example, The sheathing might be plywood. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. And I'll tell you why I have it this way. It's, let's say, OSB. That's this material. And then my wall stud would be softwood or any other wood, light frame, vertical. And then my inside will be gypsum sheathing. Stud, wall sheathing, airspace, and then brick. I'm going to say OK. Okay. So right now, I have my line weights turned off. Right here. You see this little icon here? If I turn that on, that's the line weight that is going to print at a 1/4 inch scale. If I change this to 1.5 inch scale, the line weights change per that scale. So whenever you set up a viewport in your sheet and you set the scale, the line weight will print predefined to that scale. So what we're seeing here is a hatch pattern that was defined for those materials. If we look at it in 3D, you're going to see all those different materials. Oh, there we go. You see the brick, you see an airspace, the sheathing, the stud, and then the sheetrock. Okay, that's how ArchiCAD wants you to draw it. Let me go back over here, and I'm going to draw a couple of more walls. Okay, same wall. Let's say I start here and I go this way, and I'll start here and I'll go this way. Okay, let's look at 3D. Assigning the materials per the actual material is good if you're going to do quantities takeoffs. The program does have the capabilities to find out how much quantity of different materials you have based on these assignments. Square feet of plywood, same thing of framing. You can find all that information in here. I am not using it for that purpose. I'm just using it to make very nice and pretty 3D models so I can show my clients and get that approved. So when it comes to having these materials there, it becomes a problem sometimes. Let me change this to an interior wall. Over here. 2x4, that one. And I'm going to go back to the interior 2x4 and actually change the materials. That's supposed to be a stud. Okay. So if I'm doing my 3D model and I'm using my interior wall, and let's say that's the actual wall, there's no connection, that's the end of the wall, then what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the wood. There's an option, there's another tool for you to end or add the end wall, and so you can be sheetrock, but it's an additional step, an additional tool you got to use. I don't want to do that. So instead of doing that, I assign that wood stud material to sheetrock. Change it right here to the gypsum board. And there you go. I don't have to do anything else. In plan, it's still there. In plan, I see my lines. And then in 3D, I see it there. So I don't have to go an extra tool and then just do that little end wall. And then if I change, that wall to something different, that end piece will remain back there because it wasn't attached to the wall. So a lot of the times I go in here into my composites and change these walls just for my purpose. The gypsum wall for the sheathing, gypsum wall for the stud. So in my 3D, I see it like this, and I don't see any unfinished edges as I'm drawing my model. Okay. So these walls, again, are composites. These are predefined walls that I have available to use. And I have brick, I have CMU, I have commercial EIFS, siding, stone, stucco for my exterior. And then you guys can create your own and change the materials. I'll cover that in a more advanced video. And then I have my interior walls as well. I have wood studs and I have metal studs. Size is predefined. Any one of these, after they are created, you can always change them. Let's say this one, I don't want that to be a 2x4. You can just change it to a 2x6 and it changes automatically. Let's say I don't want brick here. I want that to be stucco. You can just change it on the fly. Let's say I don't like that stucco. I want to use a different stucco. Okay. There's this painter tool right here. And you have predefined colors in your program that you can use. So let's see if I have a different stucco in here. I don't remember if I do, but just for the sake of example, let's say I like a different color. Let's say I like this beige color. So I select it, and then I hover over the wall surface that I want to paint and click, and it changes it to that color, a beige color. Yeah, it's pretty easy. If for whatever reason, I don't know, this blue, I can change it there. What else? It doesn't have to be a solid color. It can be, an actual, material, CME block. So you can do it like that on the fly, or you can do it in the settings. Right here under model, you can change right here. You can override that color to a different color. Let's say yellow. And notice it's the outside walls. So I hit OK. And the outside wall changes to yellow. It does the exact same thing that this painter thing does. If I select that wall and go back to the settings, and let's say I want the edges, a different color, let's say that color, and OK, it changes the edges to that color. So even though this wall type is a predefined wall with its own materials, you can always override in case you need to. If you want to take off those colors that you overrode, you just turn it off and it goes back to its default color. I'm going to go over a little bit on the edit tools available for walls. Okay. Whenever you select a wall, it doesn't matter what kind of wall. Let me draw some more in here. I'm going to draw with composite. And I don't know, I'm just going to choose this one. And the reference line. We've been drawing with outside face. Most of the time, on actual floor plans, we are dimensioning to the actual stud face. Those are called cores. You can do it to the outside face of the stud, to the center of the stud, or to the inside face of the stud. So I'm going to choose the outside core on this wall type, exterior siding 2x4. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to draw from here this way. Notice that as I'm drawing this, it's drawing that thicker line, that's the stud point. So that's my baseline, and I terminate it. And when I select it, that blue line, that's the actual baseline, which is the outside face of that stud. Okay. Modifying or editing these walls. How do I move? How do I trim? You can select a wall, and then you can right mouse click, and you have some options there. Also, when you click and hold, you have this floating toolbar. If I want to move that wall, I select this so I can move it anywhere. Click. If I want to modify that wall, if I want to rotate, I can do that. And the way the rotate works is I place this compass, let's say at this endpoint. I select my start point and I rotate it 90 degrees or whatever you want to do, and you rotate it that way. if you click and hold these grips at the endpoints, click and hold, you get a different set, or you're supposed to get a different set. Let me try that again. There we go. You get the move, you get the rotate, but then you also get this one, which is a stretch. You can stretch that wall to whatever desired measurement you want. And you can also stretch it to any angle you want. You can move, click and hold. Well, that's rotate. Click and hold, and I want to move, and then move it. Let me stretch this over here. And if I want to intersect, let's say I want to trim this to a corner, you select one, you select the other, and it's going to trim at the blue line, at the course, or at the baselines. And then the trim or the intersect is right there. So once they are selected, you click on this tool and it trims it. Let me say to undo. The shortcut key is Control I. And of course it didn't work. If my shortcut keys are working, it'll be Control I. But the intersect, notice that I'm not identifying, like in AutoCAD you would pick this wall, and the excess would trim off. In here, I found it to be a little bit different because it only trims off the shortest ends. This end is shorter than this one, and this end is shorter than that one. If I extend this one longer, and if I hit that one, it's going to trim the shortest end. So keep that in mind when you're using that tool. I'm going to hit undo. Another way to do it is to just drag to that point and drag to that point. You can also trim that way. So there's this different ways of trimming. Sometimes it's a whole lot faster just to do it this way, and sometimes it's faster just to use the trim tool. But you have to select two of these. You can select multiple by holding the Shift key as you click as many times as you want. Wow, what had happened here? Oh, that's a different wall. There we go.
So what if you had the horizontal one and you only wanted to trim the vertical?
Okay, let's do that. If I had the horizontal one going all the way across, and this one was over here, and if I wanted just to trim that piece, the easiest way to do it is click and drag anywhere within the wall, and it cleans up. That's the way to do it. If I wanted to break this wall into two segments, you see this little hatchet thing called a split? You select it, you define the line, and you select either this side or that side, and it splits it into two different walls. 1, 2. So that comes in handy when you're having different plate heights. If that is 10 feet and that's 11 feet, you can split it that way. That's right. You can also change, that little piece to, if that happens to be a 2x4, you can do it that way as well. Okay, so what I wanted to teach you is the modify. You can select it once, you can click and drag, and you get this fly out window. You can select move, rotate, mirror, or elevate. Let's try the mirror because we tried move, and all you do is move it to another place. Click and hold, you can rotate, and you place it wherever you want to rotate it. You can choose the middle. Notice how, let me get closer, we can see. We have endpoint. There's a little line there that tells you that's the midpoint, and you see a little check mark by the cursor. That means that you're snapping to that midpoint or the other end. If I click and snap, then I choose this point as one, and then choose my endpoint as the other one, rotate. If I'm going to mirror this, right here, I select the tool. It's telling me right here, enter the first point of mirror axis. here and click there, and it mirrors it over to the other side. If you want to mirror copy, select it. Before I click on the axis, you click on Control, and notice how the pencil has a plus. That means you're going to copy. So I click my first axis point and then the second one, and now it did a mirror copy. So click and hold, those are the tools. Move, rotate, mirror. Elevate, that is to move it in the Z direction. I don't use that a lot. If I wanted to multiply, copy this. You can copy it in different ways, incremental and spread, or spread. Let's try that one and see what it does. So I'm going to say from here to here. I define the distance, so as I keep dragging and dragging, it copies multiple times. So that one is just a matter of playing around with the different settings that it has, and I don't use this that often, but it has that possibility.
Does it have like a different option
I have not found it yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. And I think I used it one time, but I don't remember where that divide option is. Because right now it's set up to divide into 2. I think there is a setting somewhere that said divide it into 9 portions and it'll show 9 divisions, but I don't remember where it is. One last time. Click and hold and you get these options. When you click anywhere in the wall, when you click on the actual endpoint, click and hold, you get that extra option, the stretch. So then you can stretch it in any direction or in ortho mode by using the shift button. So those are the different wall editing tools. One of my students here reminded me that there's another menu. When you click and hold anywhere on the wall, you get the basic menu. Okay, we covered those. But when you click and hold on the baseline, on that blue line, you get a different menu. Okay, you get these. This one is to add a node. So if I click there, I can, anywhere on that baseline, I can click. And what I just did, I divided that into 2 walls. Okay, and what can happen there, if I select both of them and then click and hold, then I can stretch that and I can define that wall differently. Okay, let me undo that and then undo. That's to add a node. If I click and hold on that blue line, then I have this curve, which means I can stretch it into any size curve that I want. Okay, so that's that option. If I click and hold again, there's a, what's this, tangent, or make that into a trapezoid wall, which I haven't used. I haven't used any one of these. And then you have the basic move, rotate, and copy and mirror. So this one and this one I've used a lot, and further, maybe tomorrow when we're doing the actual house project, we'll use some of these. So to recap, click and hold on the baseline, you get this option, either to stretch like that or to do an arc. Click and hold there and to do that. Good. Okay, another question was, when I hover over an element, I see a magnet. You see how it appears? That's because I have this tool turned on, quick selection. That comes in really handy when you have a floor, a wall, a window, furniture. If this is turned on, it'll select the item that you hover over. If it's not turned on, it might select the floor below. It might select another element that is crossing this wall. So it actually helps you select the item that you want. And once we have floors and windows and walls, I'll show you how important this tool is to help you make the correct selection. Yes, so exactly. So it highlights and it's asking you, is this the element that you want to pick? Or is this the element you want to pick? So then you click and you select that one. Again, if we had a floor and a window, it'll highlight different things and then you make your selection as to the one that you want. first two. We covered basic and composite. Now we're going to talk about complex profile. Okay. This is where you define multi-layered walls. For example, a wall with wainscot, or if you have two different materials on a wall, or three, or you have a profile for the wainscot, you can define that here. And you would have to define your own custom wall. By default, they have some of these. So for right now, I'm going to choose one that might work, and then we'll create one as an example. That might be one. Let's see what it is. So I select the complex. I select the complex profile that I wanted, and I'm going to draw it, see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to go 3D. And this one looks like it's just a basic exterior wall, but it had the actual plates and the floor and the plate for the first floor, which is fine. I'm going to show you how to create your own personal wall or custom wall. Okay, I don't like this example, so let's delete that, and we're going to go over here. Under Options, Complex Profile, Profile Manager. Okay, we get this window. We're going to create a custom profile, and I'm going to create a new profile. So I click on this button, and I'm going to call this Custom Wall 1. Okay, so I get a new tab with a drawing space, and show me the origin of this wall that I'm going to create. Okay, so here I'm going to draw each component of this wall. And I have to draw it with the fill tool. So let's say I'm going to do a wainscot that is stone, and then it'll have a nice shaped water table cap, and then above that I might have some horizontal siding. So let's see what that could look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my material, and I'm going to choose stone, and I'm going to draw it starting at this point. This will be the floor level, okay? And I'm going to draw with this. I can draw a rectangle, or I can draw a polygon. I'm going to draw a polygon. So let's say I want it to go up 3 feet. So I type 3 feet. And let's say it's going to be 4 inches thick. And I come back down, and I click there. Looks like I missed it. No problem. I'm going to grab this grip and stretch it so it can be level. Okay, so that's my stone. And then what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to move this. Let me see. I'm going to give it a brick ledge. So I'm going to move it 5.5 inches over. Inch. Enter. Okay, so my stud line will be right there. Okay, I'm going to draw a new material. Make sure that this is not selected, because it's going to change the material if I do that. So exit out, change the material, and I'm going to do wood light frame. That'll be my wall stud. I'm going to go up 9 feet. And then I'm going to come across 3.5 inches. custom wall 1. And I'm not going to link it because I predefined the height as 9 feet, so it won't allow me to link it. So I'm just going to draw it from here and look at it in 3D. Yeah, I drew it backwards. No problem. We can flip it. So I'm going to do this and then Alt F. It flipped it.